Sign up. Fitted this grip up yesterday and had 24 hours to cure now, so we can trim this leather off now. So I'll undo that tape. You can see there that it's actually peeled a little bit of the black off the grip, but because it's over the back of the ramp there, nobody will ever see it. We're going to cut that off anyway, so it makes no difference. Right, so you can see where the recess, well, I can see where the recess is. I'm not quite sure whether you can on the camera, but you'll see the little bump recess there that is part of the ramp. So I'll just trim that off so it doesn't flap around too much on me. Get rid of that, and then I'll get this rod spinning in the lathe, and then trim this off in the right place here. Okay, so that's one. On there, I can probably take that back in a little bit further. Okay, so on the join on that. There's that. Alright, it's pretty good. Okay, so once we've got that done, we've got it. You can see that it's trimmed off. Sometimes you get the little tag hanging out, but that's not really a major issue, as you'll see. So the next thing that I do once I've got it to that position there is I'll shape the ramp. This was a piece of 80 grit sandpaper. Just sand the leather so that it's nice and smooth for about 1/4 inch or 6 mil. And what we want trying to achieve here is a nice smooth transition down to the blank itself. Pretty happy with that. And then, as you can see on the back one there, you've got a bit of a step down to the ferrule or the uni butt. So this will take a little bit more sanding down this end, but it won't take us long to do it. Okay, pretty happy with that. So just take all the excess EVA off, any shavings or this. Now this is a fairly important because it's an EVA. At some stage, what we have to do is run some epoxy up over these ramps here to seal them off. Before we do that, we've got to seal the EVA, because I've found over time that if you don't seal the EVA prior to this happening, then what happens is when you put the epoxy over it, you'll get bubbles continually coming out of it. So all we're using to seal it is the old-fashioned rod binding filler. You'll probably be able to pick that up from any of the rod building suppliers, and we need 2 coats of that. So we just basically spin it on, make sure that you get it right down into the bottom of the, go a couple of mil pass onto the blank itself. That's fine. And I like to make sure that I get this around about somewhere between 6 and 8 mil past the end of the leather, and it seals that little gap that we had where we trimmed the leather off. So do the same. Okay, so there's the first coat of filler on. I'll let that dry for about half an hour or so, give it a second coat, and then once I've given it a second coat, then give it a coat of epoxy finish, and obviously let that dry for the required time. Once that's happened, then we'll finish up with something like this. And as you can see, the epoxy is now on that, and we'll get on to the binding of the ramps. There's a certain way that you'll need to do this, and I'll show you. So again, we've got this epoxy seal here. You can probably see here that it's 6 to 8 mil past the leather. We're going to bind up over the top of that, and that secures the leather in place so that these tag ends and that can never come out. So again, I like to give that epoxy a bit of a sand. It creates a bit of a key for your the thread to sit in. Takes off any little tiny bumps or lumps that might have been there that were hanging out of the epoxy. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, again we'll wipe away that any dust or excess there with a little bit of that methylated spirits. Okay, pretty much we're ready to bind these ramps up, so we'll start on this back one here, and the tension on your thread is fairly important. You don't want too much tension. Remember, we've got EVA underneath this, and if we have it too tight, it's going to start squashing the EVA down and distort it, make it look pretty ordinary. So we'll just start this off. I started off 3 or 4 mil before the epoxy down on the ferrule, and because this is one of the rods that I build for one of the manufacturers here in Australia, I might as well bind it up the way they want me to bind it up, with a couple of trim bands in it. So start my trim band in the right place. Straighten that all up. Tighten this little trim band up a bit. Put everything out of the way. Okay. So I've got this tension pretty well preset to the right place, so it's not going to deform the ramp at all. Oop. That's what happens when you don't concentrate. Sure, we've all done that before. Right. Now I'll just put a little tie off through here, get another trim band ready, finish it off with. Okay, another trim band. Okay, so now I like to give myself about 2 foot of thread to do the tie off. Incredible. Right. Okay, so again, nice thin little trim band going in here. Bring it right down to the edge of the epoxy where it finished last time, and that edge there can be your straight edge when you put your final coat of finish on it. So, oops. It's amazing when you get on camera. It takes you twice as long to do things as when you're not on camera. Right, so that down there, keep it. Pull that through, trim the tails off, and then we have a completed completed ramp, and then I'll just give it a light little burnish. Just flatten all the threads out. That's pretty much how it's done, and I'll do this other one later. Just want to put another one up there and show you the finished product. You guys probably would have seen this posted on Bloody Decks a little while back. There we have a completed trim, all epoxied, obviously bound with a maroon coloured thread, and as you can see, the King of the Jungle in there. Pretty neat and tidy, and serves a purpose too. It's got that leather locked in forever and a day, that'll never come out of there. Nice and comfortable grip to use when you're fishing in the deep water. Anyway, that's how I do my leather grip installations and my ramps. Hopefully you guys will learn something out of that, and again, like I said, that's not the only way to do it, it's just the way that I do it, and it's been fairly successful for me. So anyway, cheers guys, have a good one.